Commie Mamdani wants more of New Yorkers' money. That's not a surprise. He sat down with Martha McCallum of Fox News, went through a whole range of issues. And you might say, oh, Buck, I don't live in New York. Why should I care? Well, this is the new left on display. And the new left runs the Democrat Party. And they're increasingly going to be, I think, because of the power of these Democrat enclaves to advance people who are not even pretending to reach out to the other side. You're going to see more of this. You're going to see a surge toward the AOC wing of the Democrat Party for a lot of younger people. And this is, I think, very troubling. But it also, if nothing else, shows us what we're up against, as in what does the other side really want? So here he is saying that New Yorkers who pay after California, New York City residents, and I used to be one, pay the highest taxes in the country after California, which it's amazing that California is even higher, but it is. If you live in New York City, you're paying half your income in the top tax rate, half of your income to the city of New York. Or rather, I'm sorry, to all taxes, including the city of New York. New York City is like a 3 or 4%, something like that. And then the state tax is like 10%. And then federal, of course, tops out at 37 or 39, whatever it is. So you're paying half. Zora Mamdani says that's not enough.
I've said that we should increase personal income taxes by 2%.
Is fair.
And my point is this:
give up more than half of your income. That's
if you're making $1 million in New York City or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Yeah.
Because when I speak to the wealthiest New Yorkers, I hear concerns about the cleanliness of the city, the quality of life in the city, questions of public safety. This money is the money that will be used to deliver on those things so that we can ensure that we have a return on investment for all of the money that we are raising and spending right here across the 5 boroughs.
You know, we should all just recognize they're never going to learn the lesson. They're never going to say, you know, we've taxed and taxed and taxed, and somehow the problem never gets better. Somehow things do not improve even when we take more money from people who are working for it and productive and give it to those. And remember, it's not even a direct redistribution of wealth. There's always the indirect bureaucracy blob that sits in the middle. And like the green Slimer from Ghostbusters with it's taking all the food. Remember that? Great scene in Ghostbusters in the hotel where Slimer's got all the hot dogs and everything he's just chowing down on. That is the bureaucracy, whether it's city, state, or federal, just chowing down on your tax dollars. And what do you get out of it? You get slimed. You get slimed. And this never changes. It does not get better. And the idea that somehow the city would improve if only people paid a little more. No, you're going to have more flight from New York City by high earners. Not as much as you saw during COVID, but you're going to have more people who say enough is enough. And that's going to put even more pressure on the tax base because people have options, thankfully, because of states like Tennessee and Florida and Texas and Nevada and New Hampshire, where they're all of which have, I think, is Alaska also there, have zero state income tax. I think Washington State actually maybe is in there too. Zero state income tax. And this means that places like New York, if they just keep squeezing and squeezing, they're going to have a tougher and tougher problem meeting the outlandish budgetary obligations they have. But here you go. You got Mamdani saying, you know what? I'm going to address crime, for example, by addressing the mental health crisis.
3 times. If you look at the New York Times, they did an investigation on 1,000 different incidents of violent crime in the city tied to mental health episodes. Yeah. They found that so many of those same New Yorkers were failed by the interactions they had with the city when they went for help for mental health assistance. And that failure is a blight, it is a stain on our city, and it's a failure that I'm looking to fix by actually transforming this with the only comprehensive plan for public safety of any of the candidates. Because what we are going to do is put out a plan and a proposal that we have shared with New Yorkers to create the Department of Community Safety that would bring together all of these pre-existing silos, that address mental health crisis, that address homelessness into one department, provide it with the funding necessary, and actually address this crisis.
Where do these people go, though,
This goes in the category of a nice idea, but if it were something that was even vaguely possible, I would want to hear more about it. I remember when de Blasio, the former terrible mayor, also really a commie, just not as out loud and proud about it. When de Blasio had his wife doing a lot of stuff for mental health in New York, $800 million. I interviewed her about this when I used to be on the Hill TV show. And no one could figure out what happened to the $800 million that de Blasio's wife, Charlene, had taken of city funds. No one really seemed to know. I mean, it was spent, but on what? What was the benefit of this? Mental health is a very complicated thing, especially at the mass level, as in millions of people. The mental health crisis, unless Mamdani's plan is to take people who are obviously mentally ill and remove them from the streets, nothing will get better. Nothing will improve when it comes to the city of New York and its mental health. It's just not going to happen. Now, why doesn't he know this? Well, he lives in the world of fantasy land. Unfortunately, in a city like New York, where only 20% of the voters are going to vote, you can get lunatics to be your base and win. And that is what is going to happen in New York. It is troubling. I can't think of another not-for-profit that does as much work day in and day out to save the lives of babies as Preborn does. Think about what happened for Victoria at one of their clinics. She went in scared and confused to a Planned Parenthood clinic first. She was handed the abortion pill, and she knew immediately that wasn't the right decision for her. So her continuing search led her to a preborn clinic where truth, clarity, and God broke through. A loving staff member gave her immediate care and helped her save not just her baby's life, but her own. Victoria got truthful answers about matters related to her unborn child at that preborn clinic. When a mother hears that, when she has that connection to the baby in the womb, lives are saved. And it begins with that free ultrasound they give her at preborn clinics. For just $28, you can sponsor an ultrasound. This is your chance to make a difference. Please answer the call. Pick up the phone, dial pound 250, and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, say baby. Or online, you can donate at preborn.com/buck, preborn.com/BUCK. Sponsored by Preborn. And then J.B. Pritzker decided to go after Stephen Miller. And this was not going to go well for Mr. Pritzker.
Think about Stephen Miller. I mean, Stephen Miller clearly is the one pushing the tactics at DHS, at CBP, at ICE. He's clearly the person that is aiming to have Donald Trump become an authoritarian leader. And I wish that, people could, at least recognize that Stephen Miller is bad for the country, and he is abusing the fact that Donald Trump has diminished capacity.
Stephen Miller is doing a phenomenal job in this White House. Honestly, one of my top draft picks for this White House team, Stephen Miller. And the fact that J.B. Pritzker, a Nepo baby, thinks that he is in a different weight class than Stephen Miller is just wrong. Okay? Stephen Miller can throw down with even the heaviest of heavyweights, as he has done so many times. And this idea that the authoritarianism of Trump goes through Stephen Miller, this is just Pritzker trying to feed his radical left base some nonsense that they can sink their teeth into. But to me, it's crazy talk. And Stephen Miller responded with this.
Well, I mean, he's a fool and he's a moron, but also, most importantly, Sean, he hates America. And let's just be honest about it. You can't love your country and then fight President Trump to keep murderers murdering. Just think about that for a second. President Trump is saying, let us work with you, with the FBI, with ICE, with ATF, with DEA, with the National Guard, to stop the murdering in your city. And Pritzker is saying he wants to protect the murderers. The people that are shooting dozens and dozens of people every single week. Chicago is more dangerous than Baghdad. It's more dangerous than Mexico City. So shame on Pritzker, and God bless President Trump for fighting for the citizens of this country, Sean.
Well, Stephen Miller's not taking any of that nonsense. And that's going to be the show for today, everybody. We've got a quick one. More coming up next week. Shield tie. I want to tell you about an exciting new project that I'm working on. In just the last few weeks, thousands of everyday Americans have joined me and my research partners in an exciting new venture to tap into the wealth of this robust stock market. It's a one-of-a-kind opportunity, something that I'm calling the Manhattan Project 2. I've combined the information that I have access to as a government insider, somebody who understands how that machinery works, with the contacts on Wall Street and also, of course, titans of industry, plus a crack research team when it comes to what's going on in the markets and stocks. This isn't just something for the elite hedge funds and billionaires out there. This is about leveling the playing field so everyday folks like you can get some great ideas for the markets and benefit from them. Join this movement today. Get 82% off. Go to insider2025.com. That's insider2025.com, paid for by Paradigm Press.